Thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's an honor to share my thoughts with an audience so brilliant and wonderful as you. My name is Zahan Kashyap, and I'm a student of grade 11 at Vasant Valley School, New Delhi. Like most of you relate, apart from being buried in academic pressure, I enjoy reading books, watching movies, and scribbling my thoughts down in what I call poetry. I now like to share with you a poem that I wrote in 2021 when I was struggling with a lot of questions. It's called L'Extraordinaire. L'Extraordinaire. What is disability? What does differentness mean? I looked up the internet for some insights to glean. A societal imposition on those who to normal don't conform. A label, a pronouncement, in my opinion, way too strong. In one swoop, it just calls out how a person doesn't fit. Those fuel their very passion and led them to do more. Helen Keller, Frida Kahlo, Einstein, and Stephen Hawking too. Bocelli, Beethoven, and Van Gogh, just to name a few. Every one of these geniuses had crippling special needs. Yet, their legacies live on through generations for all to see. Sometimes, well-meaning people just don't know how to react. With differently able people, they're simply thrown off track. Sometimes, they show pity, and sometimes sympathize. They do it out of kindness and don't really realize. No matter how different one may look or seem or sound, inclusion through act and deed is needed on the ground. Rather than do that look and look away kind of glance. Smile. Be your genuine self. Make kindness your stance. Empathy is the superpower the world needs most today. For every single person is unique in a very special way. Sometimes disabilities are very visible for all the world to see, but invisible ones are just as terrible. I'm sure you'll agree. Everyone is fighting a battle of which you have no clue, and their mighty problems might be unknown after you. So let us celebrate our fellow humans, irrespective of their state, appreciate all differences, and move from being good to being great. Okay. Thank you so much, TEDx Ahmedabad International School, for granting me this amazing opportunity to speak at this prestigious forum today. It is a huge honor and privilege to be here today amongst all of you to speak on a topic that I feel so passionate about, the power of differentness. Representing the growing population of students worldwide who have special needs, I have developed my own brand of empathy. One may say my own superpower that arises from being able to walk for a mile in my fellow students, albeit rather painful shoes. To give you some context, I was born extremely premature and was diagnosed with a condition that would cause lifelong mobility issues. My initial medical prognosis was bleak, with doctors telling my parents that I would never be able to sit up and would be lucky if I had a vocabulary of 400 words. Such a limitation wouldn't even allow me to write 10 different phrases, let alone dream of speaking at this prestigious forum today. In this journey of rehabilitation, I have been supported by a thriving community. Firstly, my parents and my grandparents. After hearing the doctor's bleak prognosis, they did not see my disability as a limitation. They saw it as a superpower and gave me every opportunity to grow and blossom as a person. Next, my school and my friends, from allowing me additional accommodations to speak in to cope in class, to giving me many forums to speak on, to sensitizing the children before I arrived, they have supported me in innumerable ways. From being predicted that I won't be able to sit up, I'm here in front of you standing. From being predicted that I'd have a vocabulary of 400 words, I'm now able to speak 30,000 words or more. And from being predicted that I would only speak 10 different phrases, I can now write poetry, articles, and speeches. Once in school, I participated in a poetry writing competition where we were asked to write on the topic of crooked lines. It struck me then that a topic so simple was actually so profound. As I contextualized it in terms of what it meant to me, I realized that through generations of conditioning, we as a society have arrived at a rampantly prevalent definition of what is normal and what is crooked. However, in doing so, we often ignore the power that differentness bestows upon us. If we really aspire to move from being good to being great, we must actually celebrate our imperfections. As a first step, we must accept the fact that every one of us is unique. Once we do so, we'll be able to take the next step towards normalizing and thereby destigmatizing differences. In my opinion, as a society, we neither understand nor act enough to tackle the challenges surrounding disability and differentness for many reasons. And I wouldn't really say ableism in and of itself is a sole culprit. Despite the growing incidence of disability across the world, there are a host of self-perpetuating issues that cause and then exacerbate this issue. Let me endeavor to break it down here. Firstly, denial syndrome. Individuals are unwilling to accept the fact that such issues exist. And this denial syndrome applies not only to those impacted, but their parents, caregivers, and significant others as well. Secondly, in case they do accept it due to societal taboos or associated stigmas, they often refrain from talking about it, especially in the developing world. And thirdly, lack of advocacy. In the absence of acknowledgement, actions that would promote changes in the societal infrastructure and legislative action are still absent from our system. So, to break this vicious cycle, advocacy and open dialogue hold the key. And to turn this key, arts like music, poetry, writing, drama often play the role of catalyst in spreading the message in bite-sized, easily digestible pieces to the masses. When it comes to normalizing differentness, it is imperative that we start sensitizing it and normalizing it early in the life of children. And what better way to do so than through music, art, and even play? Throughout history, many renowned geniuses have lived remarkable and extraordinary lives. From Helen Keller, Frida Kahlo, Einstein, Andrea Bocelli, and even Van Gogh, all these masters of their craft are remembered for their contributions and not their disabilities. Let me highlight a few examples here. Firstly, we have Helen Keller. Helen Keller was an amazing individual. Despite being deaf and blind, she was an author and an advocate for disability. She helped create rehabilitation centers and education for the blind. She is known as one of the most influential persons of the 19th century. Next, we have Beethoven. Beethoven was a musical genius and composer. Despite having turned deaf in his later years, his masterpieces were created during this period. He changed the world of music completely. And lastly, we have Nick Vujicic. Nick Vujicic was born without arms and legs, and doctors couldn't explain the reason. His tenacity and courage for life have caused him to become one of the most loved and most inspirational speakers of this world. He now visits educational institutions such as schools to give Gen Z messages of hope and positivity to light up their day. Neil Marcus, an actor with a disability, once said, "Disability is not a brave struggle or courage in the face of adversity. Disability is an art, it's an ingenious way to live. I feel that the single biggest skill that disability allows us to explore and develop is empathy. In fact, even in the cutthroat world of business and technology, empathy is now regarded as a very important character trait. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, arguably one of the biggest and most innovative companies of all time, believes that empathy is the key to business innovation. This is because empathy comes from one's ability to understand the customer's unarticulated needs, which is only possible if you relate to their situation, that is, truly empathize with them. So, before I leave my speech here, I'd like to just tell you one last thing. The next time you see a differently abled person, don't look away. Smile at them. Start a conversation. I promise it will change your life completely. I'd now like to leave you with the last few lines of my poem. So let us celebrate our fellow humans, irrespective of their state. Appreciate all differences and move from being good to being great.